I was sitting at my favorite coffee shop in Portland, watching the rain streak down the window when my phone buzzed. The message was from an unknown number, but I recognized the tone immediately. "Kobe, it is me. We need to talk. I know where you are. Diana." My ex-wife. The woman I had spent 3.5 years with, never knowing she was living a double life. A year ago, I walked away without a single word. Now she was back. But why? Before I tell you how 3.5 years of my life became a lie, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. And if you have ever had to walk away from something that was breaking, you hit that like button and subscribe, because this story might just help you understand that sometimes silence is the strongest response you can give. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I met Diana at an outdoor concert in Austin, Texas, back in the spring of 2015. She was standing near the front of the stage, swaying to the music, her hair catching the golden light of the setting Sunday. I was there with a couple of friends trying to unwind after a brutal week of coding deadlines. When our eyes met during the encore, something just clicked. We started talking during the break between sets. And by the time the night ended, I had her number and a date planned for the following weekend. Diana worked as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized tech firm. I was a software engineer at a startup that was just beginning to find its footing. Our lives seemed to fit together naturally. She loved the creative side of business, the brainstorming sessions, and client presentations. I loved the logic of code, the satisfaction of solving complex problems. We balanced each other out. She brought spontaneity to my structured world, and I brought stability to her sometimes chaotic schedule. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. I did it at the same park where we had our first picnic under the same oak tree where she had fallen asleep on my shoulder that sunny afternoon. She cried when she saw the ring, and I remember thinking that I was the luckiest man alive. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a vineyard in California. Just family and close friends. Nothing extravagant. Diana wanted it intimate, and so did I. We were not the type to need 100 guests to validate our love. After the wedding, we rented a 2-bedroom townhouse in the suburbs about 20 minutes from both our offices. Life felt perfect. Our morning started with me making coffee while Diana shuffled into the kitchen, still half asleep, her hair a mess and her eyes barely open. She always added cinnamon to her cup, a habit she picked up from her grandmother. We would sit at the small breakfast table talking about our plans for the day, laughing at stupid jokes, making each other smile before the world demanded our attention. Weekend nights were our time. We would cook together, trying recipes from all over the world. One week it was Thai curry, the next it was homemade pasta. We were terrible at it, sometimes burning things or over-seasoning, but it did not matter. It was about being together, sharing the small moments that most people overlook. We talked about buying a house in 2 years, having our first child in 3. Everything was mapped out, or so I thought. But then, during the 2nd year of our marriage, Diana got promoted to senior manager. It was a big deal. More responsibility, better pay, and a lot more hours. At first, I was happy for her. She had worked hard, and she deserved the recognition. But with the promotion came changes. Subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. She started coming home later. 8 o'clock became 10, then 11. When I asked if everything was okay, she would smile tiredly and say the new role was demanding, that she was still adjusting. I believed her because I wanted to. Because doubting her felt like betraying the trust we had built. Her phone, which used to sit openly on the counter, was now always face down. When I noticed, I brushed it off. When she changed her password, I asked why. She said her company required tighter security after a data breach. It sounded reasonable. I accepted it. The distance between us grew in ways that were harder to measure. She stopped talking as much when she came home. Instead of curling up on the couch with me, she would sit at the kitchen table with her laptop, saying she had to clean up emails or finish reports. Our date nights, which used to be sacred, became rare. When I suggested going out, she would agree, but then cancel at the last minute. Emergency meetings, she said. Client issues that could not wait. Our physical connection faded too. We went from being intimate 2 or 3 times a week to maybe once every 2 weeks, if that. I tried to reignite things. I booked a table at her favorite Italian restaurant, the one with the candles and the live piano music. I got dressed up, arrived early, ordered her favorite wine. She texted me 30 minutes before our reservation. Emergency meeting with a client. So, sorry. Rain check. I sat there alone, eating pasta in silence, convincing myself that this was just a phase. Every couple goes through rough patches, right? Work stress is normal. I told myself these things over and over. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered, something is not right. 6 months later, I found a hotel receipt in the pocket of Diana's blazer. I was not snooping. I was just taking her clothes to the dry cleaner like I always did on Saturdays. The receipt was from the Ritz downtown. When I asked her about it casually, she said it was from a company retreat and that accounting had sent the wrong receipt to her by mistake. But I remembered her mentioning that the retreat was at a resort outside the city, not downtown. The explanation did not add up, but I let it go. I did not want to be that person, the one who interrogates their spouse over a piece of paper. Then there was the cologne. One evening I hugged Diana when she came home and I smelled it. A woody sandalwood scent that was definitely not mine. I use a citrus-based aftershave. This was something else entirely, something masculine and expensive. When I mentioned it, she laughed it off. Oh, that I was standing next to Gerald in the elevator. He wears way too much cologne. Gerald. Her boss. The vice president of operations. I had met him once at a company holiday party. Mid-40s, confident, the kind of guy who commands a room without trying. I did not think much of it at the time. But the signs kept piling up. One night I was working late on a project deadline. It was close to midnight, and I stepped out of my home office to grab some water. I saw Diana sitting on the balcony, her phone glowing in the darkness. She was typing something, then smiling, then typing again. When she noticed me, she quickly turned off the screen and stood up. Just a funny meme from the work group chat, she said, slipping past me into the house. I wanted to believe her. I really did. The breaking point came on a random Wednesday. Diana told me she was going to a conference in San Diego that weekend, something about marketing strategies and industry trends. I wished her a safe trip and went about my week. But on Thursday night, I could not sleep. Something was gnawing at me, an instinct I could not ignore. I opened my laptop and checked her company's website. They had a public events page listing all upcoming conferences and seminars. There was nothing scheduled in San Diego. Nothing at all. I started paying closer attention. Diana would shower immediately after coming home, something she never used to do. She would throw her clothes into the laundry right away instead of waiting until the weekend like we always had. She took phone calls and stepped out onto the balcony, speaking in hushed tones. I could not hear the words, but I could hear the softness in her voice, a tone she used to reserve for me. Then came the day everything shattered. I had a meeting scheduled with a client for 2 in the afternoon, but they canceled at the last minute. I decided to head home early instead of staying at the office. It was a Wednesday around 2:15 when I pulled into our neighborhood. That is when I saw it. A black BMW parked in front of our townhouse. It was not ours. I did not recognize it. Instead of pulling into the driveway, I parked 2 houses down and watched. 15 minutes passed. Then the front door opened. Diana stepped out, followed by a man in a gray suit. I recognized him immediately. Gerald. They stood on the porch talking for a moment. Then he pulled her close, and they kissed. Not a polite professional kiss, a real one. Long, familiar, comfortable. My chest tightened. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I felt like I was watching a movie, like I was outside my own body, observing something that could not possibly be real. They finally separated and Gerald walked to his car. Diana waved as he drove off, then went back inside. I sat there for another 10 minutes, trying to process what I had just seen. My mind raced through every explanation, every excuse, but none of them made sense. I waited until my hands stopped shaking. Then I got out of the car and walked to the front door. I unlocked it quietly and stepped inside. The house was silent except for the sound of running water from upstairs. She was in the shower. I walked to the kitchen table where Diana's laptop sat open. She had forgotten to lock it. I did not plan to look. I did not want to be that person. But my hand moved on its own and I clicked on her email. Messages filled the screen. Conversations with someone named Gerald. I scrolled through them, my heart sinking with every line. They were not just professional. They were intimate, affectionate, explicit. I kept scrolling, going back further and further. And then I saw it. An email from 3.5 years ago. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. He will be at his conference all weekend. 3.5 years. Almost from the very beginning of our marriage. I sat down, my legs suddenly too weak to hold me. The water upstairs stopped. I heard Diana moving around. I closed the laptop and stood up, forcing myself to breathe. She came downstairs a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, her hair wet. When she saw me, she jumped. "You are home early," she said, surprised. I nodded. "Yeah. Meeting got canceled." She smiled. "Oh, well, that is nice. How was your day?" I looked at her, this woman. I thought I knew, and I felt nothing but emptiness. "Busy," I said. "You know, the usual." She nodded and disappeared into the bedroom to get dressed. That night I did not sleep. I lay there next to a stranger planning my exit. I did not confront Diana. I did not yell or demand answers. I did not give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. 3.5 years of lies could not be undone with an apology or an explanation. I did not want to hear her reasons, her justifications, her tears. I did not want the drama. I just wanted out. So I started planning. Quietly. Carefully. Methodically. During my lunch breaks, I called a divorce lawyer. I explained the situation and he walked me through the process. Texas Law Division of Assets Timelines. I took notes, asked questions, and thanked him for his time. The following week, I opened a new bank account at a different institution. I transferred half of our joint savings, the amount I had contributed over the years. It was my money. I was not stealing. I was protecting what was mine. Then, I started looking for a place to live. I had always wanted to move to Portland, Oregon. The city had a vibe I loved. Rainy green, full of coffee shops and bookstores. I found a studio apartment online, a small place with a view of a park. I put down a deposit through a virtual tour. It was perfect for starting over. I also talked to my boss about going fully remote. Fortunately, our company had been moving in that direction anyway, so he approved it without much hesitation. For 4 weeks, I lived a double life. I woke up next to Diana every morning. I made her coffee with cinnamon. I asked about her day. I smiled when she talked about work. She had no idea. I was a ghost in my own home, playing a role in a script I no longer believed in. It was exhausting, but it was necessary. I needed time to prepare. I needed everything to be perfect. Diana had a business trip scheduled to Chicago. 3 days. She told me about it over dinner one night, saying it was a big client meeting. I nodded and wished her luck. "See you Sunday night," she said the morning she left, kissing my cheek. "Love you." I looked at her and said, "Safe travels." She smiled and walked out the door. An hour after her flight took off, I called my 2 best friends, Jake and Marcus. "I need your help." I told them, "I am leaving." They showed up 30 minutes later with a truck. We worked fast. I packed my clothes, my books, my laptop, a few photos of my family. I left everything we had bought together. The furniture, the kitchen, appliances, the television. I did not want any of it. It was all tainted. I only took what was mine before the marriage. When we finished loading the truck, I walked back inside one last time. I placed an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was the signed divorce paperwork my lawyer had prepared. Next to it, I left a handwritten note. 3 lines. That was all she deserved. Diana, I know everything. I know about Gerald. I know it has been 3.5 years. Do not contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. Kobe. I placed my wedding ring beside the note, locked the door behind me, and dropped the keys in the mailbox. The drive to Portland took 18 hours. I stopped only for gas and food. I did not look back. I did not allow myself to feel anything except the road ahead. Diana called. 32 missed calls in one night. Text messages flooded in. Apologies, explanations, please. Please. Kobe. Let me explain. It is not what you think. I am so sorry. Please talk to me. I blocked her number. I blocked her on every platform. My lawyer handled everything from that point forward. She tried coming to my office, but I had already informed security. She was not allowed in. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. Diana did not fight it. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe Gerald had promised her something better. I did not care. I just wanted it over. Maybe Gerald? 2. When the papers were signed, I felt a weight lift. I was free. My life in Portland started small. I moved into the studio apartment, unpacked my things, and set up a simple routine. I worked from home during the day, my desk facing the window so I could watch the rain. In the evenings, I walked along the Willamette River, breathing in the cool air, letting the city heal me. I joined a hiking club and met people who knew nothing about my past. I learned to cook new dishes, experimenting with Italian and Thai recipes. I read more books than I had in years. I went to the gym 5 times a week, pushing my body until I was too tired to think. Slowly, the pain faded. 6 months after arriving, I felt lighter. A year later, I felt stable. I even went on a few dates, casual things that did not lead anywhere serious. I was not in a rush. I was learning to be okay with just me. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I thought that chapter was closed forever, until her message came. I stared at the message on my phone. Kobe, it is me. We need to talk. I know where you are. My first reaction was shock. How did she find me? I had been careful. I had not posted anything on social media. I had not told anyone from my old life where I was. Yet here she was reaching out like no time had passed at all. A few more messages followed. I will be in Portland tomorrow. Please meet me. Just once. I need closure. Then another. I am not asking you to forgive me. Just hear me out. I spent the entire night thinking about it. Part of me wanted to ignore her, to delete the messages and move on. But another part of me, the part that still believed in finishing things properly, thought maybe it was time, not for her, for me, to close this chapter once and for all. The next morning I sent a reply. Fine. Powell's Bookstore Cafe. 3 p.m. Tomorrow. 30 minutes. Her response came instantly. Thank you. I will be there. I arrived early, choosing a corner table where I could see the entrance. At exactly 3 o'clock, Diana walked in. I barely recognized her. She looked different. Her hair, which used to fall past her shoulders, was cut short into a bob. She was thinner, her cheekbones more pronounced. There were dark circles under her eyes, and she was not wearing the carefully applied makeup she used to. She looked tired, worn out. She spotted me and walked over, sitting down across from me without a word. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she broke the silence. You look good. Portland suits you. I nodded. Thank you. What do you want, Diana? She took a deep breath, folding her hands on the table. I need you to know what happened after you left. I leaned back in my chair. I am listening. She started talking, and I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. Gerald left her 3 months after I walked away. Apparently he had never planned to leave his wife and kids. Diana was just a distraction, something exciting on the side. When the affair became public, when Gerald's wife found out he threw Diana under the bus, he blamed everything on her painting himself as the victim of a seduction. The company could not keep both of them, so Diana was let go. Gerald stayed. He had seniority connections power, she had nothing. Her family found out about the affair. Her parents, who had always adored me, were devastated. Her younger sister stopped speaking to her. The friends we had shared, the ones who came to our wedding, sided with me. They cut her out. She had to move back to Houston, taking a job that paid half of what she used to make. She was starting over, but not in the way I had. She was rebuilding from rubble and shame. "I made a terrible mistake," she said, her voice cracking. "The biggest mistake of my life." I nodded. "I know." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine for something. Sympathy, forgiveness, I did not know. "But you," she continued, her tone shifting slightly. "You were so cold. You just left. No conversation, no chance for me to explain." There was an edge to her voice now, a hint of bitterness creeping in. "Do you know how humiliating it was? Coming home to an empty house and a 3-line note." I realized then what this was really about. She had not come to apologize. She had come to make me feel guilty, to shift some of the blame onto me. "I lost everything," she said, her voice rising slightly. "My job, my family, my dignity. And you are here living your best life." She looked around the cafe at the peaceful setting, at my calm expression. "I wanted you to hurt like I hurt." I let her words hang in the air for a moment. Then I leaned forward, looking her straight in the eye. "Diana, you are right. I did leave without giving you a chance to explain." She seemed surprised, like she expected me to argue. Because there was nothing to explain. 3.5 years of lies do not deserve an explanation. You did not just cheat. You built a second life behind my back. For years. And River. Chapter 68. And ATA. Chapter 60. To AT. Weth 2. Every morning I woke up next to you, every night I came home to you, you were lying. I did not leave to hurt you, I left to save myself. I paused, making sure she understood. "And you want to talk about humiliation? Try finding out your entire marriage was a joke. Try realizing that the person you trusted most in the world was capable of looking you in the eye every single day while betraying you. I do not hate you, Diana. I do not feel anything for you anymore. And that is the point." Her eyes filled with tears, but I did not soften. "You lost your job, your family's respect. Those were consequences of your choices. Not mine. I lost 3.5 years of my life. But I chose not to lose any more." I stood up, putting on my jacket. "I hope you find peace, Diana. I really do. But not with me." I walked out of the cafe without looking back. After leaving Powell's, I walked along the river. The rain had stopped and the air smelled clean, like wet earth and pine. I thought about the past year, about how far I had come. The first few months after leaving had been brutal. I woke up some mornings feeling hollow, questioning if I had done the right thing. But slowly, day by day, I found myself again. I discovered hobbies I had forgotten about. I reconnected with old friends. I learned that I did not need someone else to feel whole. Diana's attempt at revenge, if that is what it was, had failed. She wanted me to feel guilty, to second-guess my decision to leave without a fight. But I did not. Walking away quietly was not cowardice. It was self-preservation. It was choosing peace over war. It was knowing that I deserved respect, and when I was not getting it, I had the strength to leave. Some people think you have to fight for everything, that walking away means you are weak. But sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is recognize when something is broken beyond repair and have the courage to let it go. I learned that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I could forgive Diana for what she did, not because she earned it, but because holding on to that anger was only hurting me. Forgiveness was not for her. It was for me. It was about releasing the weight I had been carrying so I could move forward lighter and freer. Life has a way of balancing itself out. Diana lost everything because of her choices. I did not need to seek revenge. The universe handled that on its own. As I stood there by the water watching the sun break through the clouds, I felt a sense of calm I had not felt in years. I thought about the man I was a year ago, packing up his life in silence, driving 18 hours to start over. That man was scared, heartbroken, unsure if he would ever feel whole again. But he made it. I made it. Not because I got revenge or because Diana suffered. I made it because I chose myself. I chose to walk away from toxicity and build something better. So, if you have ever been in a situation where you felt betrayed, where trust was shattered, let me ask you this. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love to save yourself? Drop your answer in the comments. I would love to hear your story. And if this video resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything and helps me keep sharing these stories. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the greatest act of strength is knowing when to walk away. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.